20,000 years ago, hidden beneath stone and ice. There were caves unlike any other. Inside them waited something that would outlive the people who created it. As the hunters stepped deeper into the darkness, the flickering torchlight revealed strange red marks across the cave walls. They were not random stains, but the first signs of something remarkable. Suddenly, an enormous mammoth appeared on the stone wall. It wasn't alive, yet it looked powerful enough to move at any moment. Frozen forever in ancient paint. The deeper he walked, the more paintings appeared. Horses, bison, deer, and mysterious handprints covered the walls, transforming the cave into a silent gallery from another age. One handprint caught his attention. He slowly placed his own hand beside it, realizing another human had stood in this exact place thousands of years before. Every painting looked carefully planned. The animals were drawn with astonishing detail, suggesting the artist wanted to preserve something beyond simple pictures. Outside, the Ice Age was cold and unforgiving. Yet inside the cave, warm torchlight protected a world filled with mystery. Near the paintings lay stone bowls stained with red ochre and charcoal. Someone had spent hours making these pigments instead of looking for food. Standing in the center of the chamber, the hunter realized these paintings were far too numerous to be simple decoration. They had to mean something. This leads to one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. Why did people struggling to survive spend so much time painting deep inside dark caves? Every morning during the Ice Age began with the same challenge: survival. Hunger, freezing weather, and deadly predators were part of everyday life. Before sunrise, the hunters left camp hoping to find food. Every journey into the frozen wilderness carried the risk of never returning. A herd of mammoths appeared in the distance. The hunters waited patiently, knowing one careless move could ruin the hunt or cost their lives. Without warning, the mammoth charged. Wooden spears offered little protection against such an enormous animal. The hunt failed, empty-handed and exhausted. The hunters slowly returned to camp, disappointing their waiting families. That night, the tribe shared the last small pieces of meat. Every bite mattered because no one knew when the next successful hunt would come. Yet while others worried about food, one member of the tribe quietly prepared pigments from crushed minerals and charcoal deep inside the cave. Mixing pigments with animal fat required patience and skill. Making paint consumed valuable time that could have been spent hunting. Instead of chasing prey, the artist carefully painted another giant animal across the cave wall. Every brushstroke suggested this work carried extraordinary meaning. And that is the real mystery. Why would people living on the edge of survival sacrifice precious time to create art hidden inside a dark cave? The paintings may have been more than beautiful images. Some archaeologists believe they were created to bring luck before a dangerous hunt. Inside the cave, the artist carefully painted a giant mammoth while the rest of the tribe watched in complete silence. Every movement seemed filled with purpose. When the painting was finished, the hunters quietly placed their hands on the mammoth. Perhaps they believed this simple act would help them succeed. An elder slowly raised both hands toward the painted animal. No words were spoken, yet everyone understood the importance of the moment. At sunrise, the hunters left the cave carrying only wooden spears and hope. Behind them, the painted mammoth remained glowing in the fading torchlight. Hours later, the hunt unfolded across the frozen valley. The tribe worked together with patience, courage, and careful planning. This time, they succeeded. The mammoth finally fell, and the tribe returned home with enough food to survive many more days. That success may have strengthened their beliefs. Soon another painting appeared beside the first, then another after that. Over time, the cave walls filled with mammoths, horses, bison, and deer. Every new painting may have marked another hunt, another memory, or another hope. Of course, no one knows if the paintings truly brought luck, but for the people who created them, belief itself may have been just as powerful. Perhaps the paintings were never meant to bring magic at all. Maybe they were created to teach something far more valuable. The elders stood before the painted animals while the children gathered around, listening carefully as he pointed to each figure on the wall. Instead of written words, the cave became a classroom. Every painting preserved knowledge that could not easily be forgotten. The elder pointed toward the mammoth's legs, tusks, and massive body, showing young hunters where danger and opportunity could be found. Nearby, A young child carefully copied a painted bison onto the rock, learning not only how to draw but how to observe nature. The animals were not scattered randomly. Mammoths, horses, and bison appeared in organized groups, almost like lessons recorded in stone. Children compared painted footprints with real tracks drawn in the dirt, slowly learning how to recognize animals before a hunt. As the hunter stared at the painted mammoth, he imagined tomorrow's hunt. The artwork may have helped prepare both the eyes and the mind. Generation after generation gathered inside the cave, sharing stories and survival skills beneath the painted walls. Long before books or writing existed, these caves may have become humanity's very first classrooms, preserving knowledge for those who came next. Some researchers believe these caves were never ordinary shelters. They may have been special places reserved for something far more meaningful. As the sun disappeared, the tribe gathered outside the cave carrying burning torches. No one spoke as they prepared to enter. They walked deep beneath the mountain until the outside world disappeared, leaving only silence and flickering light. The towering paintings surrounded them from every direction. Standing beneath them felt less like entering a cave and more like entering a sacred place. An elder dipped a hand into red pigment and pressed it against the stone wall, leaving a new handprint beside countless others. Hundreds of handprints covered the cave, each belonging to someone who had once stood in the same place many generations before. The deepest chambers held the greatest paintings, hidden far from daylight where few people would ever casually wander. As the torchlight danced across the walls, the painted animals almost seemed to move, giving the cave an unforgettable sense of life. The hunter looked around and noticed something unusual. There were no cooking fires, sleeping areas, or signs that anyone had ever lived here. Perhaps these caves were never homes at all. They may have been sacred places where people gathered to remember, learn, and believe. Thousands of years passed as the cave remained hidden beneath stone, protecting its ancient paintings from the outside world. One day, modern archaeologists entered the cave for the first time in thousands of years. Amazed by what they discovered, their lights revealed mammoths, horses, bison, and handprints that looked almost untouched despite their incredible age. The researchers carefully examined every painting, measuring each detail while searching for clues left by the ancient artists. One discovery stood out immediately. The deepest chambers contained magnificent artwork, but almost no evidence that people had lived there. Instead, archaeologists found stone bowls, charcoal, red ochre, and simple tools once used to prepare natural paint. Across thousands of years, the work of the prehistoric artist met the eyes of the modern scientist for the very first time. The enormous chambers revealed hundreds of paintings covering walls and ceilings, proving these artists had invested extraordinary effort. Every handprint, brushstroke, and pigment raised another question, yet none revealed the true reason the paintings were created. Even after decades of research, archaeologists can explain how these masterpieces were made, but not exactly why. Perhaps the greatest mystery is that we may never know the real reason these paintings were created. The cave walls contained strange symbols, dots, lines, and patterns that no one has fully explained to this day. Some experts believe the paintings were part of sacred rituals, while others think they were used to teach young hunters important survival skills. The hunter gently placed his hand beside an ancient handprint, realizing thousands of years separated them. Yet the connection still felt real. Among the larger handprints were much smaller ones, reminding us that children also took part in this remarkable tradition. Generation after generation returned to the same cave, adding new paintings while preserving those created by their ancestors. Under the flickering torchlight, the painted animals almost seemed alive, as if the cave itself was telling stories from another world. When the artist finished his work, he quietly stepped back and admired the wall, never knowing people would still see it 20,000 years later. Today, archaeologists and visitors stand before the very same paintings, asking the same questions the ancient artist left unanswered. Perhaps that is the greatest gift these caves have given us, not clear answers, but an endless sense of wonder about our earliest ancestors. The final chapter of this story begins with a single artist standing before an empty cave wall, ready to leave something behind. With careful hands, he painted the outline of a giant mammoth while a young child watched every movement in silence. Years later, that same child painted beside the elder, continuing a tradition that stretched across countless generations. As centuries passed, new artists added horses, bison, deer, and handprints until the cave became a living record of human history. Eventually, every wall and ceiling was covered with remarkable paintings, transforming the cave into one of humanity's oldest masterpieces. When the final brushstroke was finished, the artist quietly walked away, leaving his work hidden beneath the mountain. The world outside changed as thousands of years passed, but the cave faithfully protected its priceless treasures. When modern explorers finally discovered the paintings again, they found not just beautiful artwork, but a message that had survived the ages. Although we may never know exactly why ancient humans painted caves, their creations remind us that curiosity, imagination, and storytelling have always been part of being human. If these paintings could survive for 20,000 years, perhaps the stories they left behind will continue inspiring people for thousands more.